What's good, guys? Fantasy Joe back here with some more fantasy football content. Today I am talking high floor, high ceiling wide receivers. This is a great combination to target in your drafts early and often. These are guys that aren't going to disappoint and still have the upside to help make a difference and help you win your league, because that's what we're trying to do at the end of the day. We're not trying to come in third. We're trying to come in first. That's what it's all about, winning that championship. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I have a ton of fantasy profiles on the channel, mock drafts that drop every Monday, league winners, values, busts, sleepers, all that stuff on the channel, so check it out. More content coming your way throughout the season you're going to see. Hit that like button, and if you have any comments, drop them in the comment section down below. I'll respond as always. First up, I've got Mike Evans. Last year was the wide receiver 8, averaged 14.1 points per game. Now let's talk high ceiling, why I think he has a high ceiling and a high floor. 1,000 yards every single season of his career. He has a ton of touchdown upside to him. Had 13 and 14 touchdowns in the last 2 seasons. Last year, only had a 16% target share on a team that threw the ball 719 times. Rob Gronkowski's retired. Antonio Brown has gone. Chris Godwin tore his ACL. I think all of this adds together to mean that Mike Evans will secure a larger target share in an extremely pass-heavy offense. I think his targets will increase. I think this increases his touchdown upside as well. I think he could stack more yards on than we've seen him do in previous seasons, get more receptions, even more touchdowns. I don't know that they're necessarily go up, but I think he has a good chance to repeat the touchdowns that he's had the recent seasons. He's one of my favorite picks, and he's currently going in the 3rd round. I love the value there. I don't think people understand that he has a much higher ceiling to him this year, to me, than he's had in each of the previous 2 seasons. And again, he brings that high floor with him. When you're drafting him in the middle of round 3, you're going to have a wide receiver 2 at worst. And most of the time, you're getting him as either wide receiver 2 or a wide receiver 1. I think he easily finishes a wide receiver 1 this season and has top 5 potential truly in the cards for Mike Evans. I don't think many people are considering that in drafts currently. Next up, we've got Mike Williams. Last year finished as a wide receiver 10, averaging 13 points per game. And honestly, I don't understand why Mike Williams is currently going so late in drafts, 4th round. Finished as wide receiver 1 last year, and then the Chargers went out and they gave him a $40 million guaranteed extension, $60 million overall for 3 seasons. When you pay someone money like that coming off a career season, it says to me that this guy can continue to be a major factor in the game plan. He's extremely talented. Keenan Allen's yards per route run has dropped each of the previous 5 seasons. I think Mike Williams is on the way up, plays with a stud quarterback in Justin Herbert, who's one of the best deep ball throwers in all of the NFL, which he excels at. They've also used him a lot more in just over the middle of the field and intermediate routes, getting him more involved. Had 129 targets last year. I think that number could go up even this season. I'm drafting him ahead of Keenan Allen. He's not going ahead of Keenan Allen in drafts, though, and that's what gets me so excited about Mike Williams. Yes, he was a volatile scorer last year, but I think some of that has to do with the knee injury that slowed him down over the middle of the season. Started fast, finished strong. I expect him to continue to be a major contributor for fantasy football teams and a guy that can be acquired in round 4 with a quarterback like Justin Herbert. As long as he's healthy, I think he'll finish as a wide receiver 2, worst case scenario, and that's where you're drafting him right now. I think he has top 5 upside to his potential. When you have a quarterback like Justin Herbert who's going to go out there and throw close to 40 touchdowns, he's got crazy touchdown upside, and if that volume increases as well, the sky is the limit for him this season. I have him projected for 80-plus receptions, 1,200-plus yards, and 10-plus touchdowns. I think he is a great value in drafts. Next up, I've got Cortland Sutton. Didn't finish super strong last year, but that's mainly because he was playing with a much different situation. He was also a year removed from an ACL injury. His last healthy season, he had 1,100 yards, and that was with Joe Flacco. Well, his last healthy season before the ACL injury, I should say. Last year, obviously, he was healthy, but again, year 1 back from that ACL, playing with poor quarterbacks. Now he gets Russell Wilson. I think this is a major upgrade for him. He showed what he could do early in his career. Tim Patrick's gone down. That basically means there's going to be a huge target share for the wide receivers between Sutton and Jerry Jeudy. I think KJ Hamler could be a factor as well, but I think Cortland Sutton's going to absorb the majority of the targets in this offense. And he's currently going in the middle, or at the beginning of the 5th round, 503, wide receiver 20. I think that's excellent value for Cortland Sutton. I think he's a wide receiver 2 at worst, and that's currently where you're drafting him, as a back-end wide receiver 2. I think he will finish this year as a wide receiver 1. That's where I have him ranked. Russell Wilson, another quarterback. If you notice the theme between all the quarterbacks on this list, I think they're going to throw anywhere from 35-plus touchdowns, 35 to 40 touchdowns. When you do that, these receivers, these web pass-catching options that are the first or second option, these teams are going to have quite a few opportunities to score touchdowns, and that is what's so good for fantasy football. He's also 6'4". He is the big wide receiver on this team right now. I think that just increases his touchdown upside now that Tim Patrick's gone down. And like I said, with Russ, and the fact that Russ is playing with the best offensive line of his career, good weapons in Sutton and Jeudy, they're going to increase their pace of play and run the ball less often than he ever did in Seattle. He's going to get a chance to really let loose. I think that the sky is the limit for Sutton, and I don't see him finishing lower than a wide receiver 2. And that's currently where you can get him for drafts. I love targeting all 3 of these guys in drafts. I have Sutton projected for 80-plus receptions, 1,200-plus yards, and 8-plus receiving touchdowns. I think he's could do for a monster breakout year. Jerry Jeudy's another guy I think has the upside. I don't think he'll finish lower than a wide receiver 2. I don't know if he has quite the same upside as Cortland Sutton, but I think he could finish as a wide receiver 1 as well. It could be him instead of Sutton. I'm placing my bet on Sutton, but it would not shock me at all if it was Jeudy, and he's a guy who I think as well in his range of outcomes, he could be a wide receiver 1, but will not finish lower than a wide receiver 2, which is where he's currently going in drafts as a back-end wide receiver 2. Anytime you can be drafting players at their floor, you should feel good about it in fantasy football drafts, especially when they have high upside in a changing situation like both of these Denver Broncos wide receivers. If you guys have made it to this point in the video, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you have any questions or comments, drop them in the comment section down below. I'll respond as always. This has been Fantasy Joe. Thank you guys for watching.